Peter, you don't want to sit there and then we'll just all shut this shirt outside.
Why balance up the intellectual weight on that?
Sitting close to the exit.
That's right. That's where the enlightenment parts will be coming. Yay, can't. Oh, Marie's ready. She's in her room already. I was thinking that you prayer. I'm glad you guys are ready for it. Huh? Peter, you want to? It's like, really? You can't even sit up. You don't have to sit up to do it. Lord Buddha doesn't care.
Choknam la Changchu bardu dakni kyapsuchi Daki chinyen gipe sunam ki Drola penshir sange drupasho. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so the reason that the class is half empty is because at week 5, everything falls apart. The adrenaline is gone, the motivation is dried up, and you're just relying on sheer willpower to get you to class. And the way I know this is because when I was studying for my Marut, which I did not want to do, I mean, I didn't want to have a Marut, much less study for one. But my Lama told me I had to. And so I started going through my notebooks and seeing how much homework I had to do. To a course, at week 5, the homework stopped. It stopped. I was able to keep going to class, but the motivation for doing the homework was gone. So that was a nightmare. So please do me a favor, because my reward for teaching you when I could be riding a roller coaster or at the county fair is that you will be teaching this stuff. When I have stepped down, you will get up here and you will spread the Dharma, formally and informally. I know it sounds far-fetched and crazy and not me. I'm talking about you and you and you and you. So just start to plant the seeds now. Just start to see yourself sitting up on this throne and spreading this word. That's my reward. And in order to do that, you actually have to do the homework. Okay, so next week, I'm going to give you the week off. Oh, I'm sorry, let me take that back. I'm going to give you next Monday off. Not the week, because in that 2 weeks that you're going to have, you need to do homework. Okay? Thank you for nodding, saying yes. So I want to talk just really briefly about taking the loss, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that you know, when the guy at work is taking credit for your project, or when your boss is not acknowledging you're the one who made the win and made the sale and closed the deal and signed the contract. Just take it. And I realized that it's actually not taking the loss, it's taking the win. Because you're getting an opportunity to practice, what you want to be practicing, practice being who you want to be. And you're also not making them collect negative karma, right? You're just giving them this gift. So it's a double win situation. So instead of thinking of it as taking the loss, think of it as like an awesome win, okay? So, yes?
Okay, so, but because they're lying, then they're getting more negative karma.
So you can't be the judge of whether someone thinks they're lying or not. Someone honestly might think, oh, I honestly contributed, If you think that someone is harming themselves, you definitely want to say something privately to them. But there are plenty of people, I feel that I'm responsible for Breaking Bad worldwide. There are probably 100 people who feel that way and would laugh at me. So, you don't necessarily know what's going on in someone else's mind, even though it might seem completely clear-cut to you. Does that make sense? I mean, from your side, something is self-existently this way. And from someone else's side, it's not so, This is where you start to see that little fuzzy gray thing, is where a couple has been married, and the man takes up with another woman. Now, to the wife, he has cheated on her. To the husband, she abandoned the marriage long ago because she stopped sleeping with him or cooking him dinner or whatever. And to the girlfriend, he was completely single. So, there's the only one who knows the real truth is some, Buddha out there, right? So things are never as the wife, of course. Okay, so that said about taking the loss, you want to stretch yourself. You definitely want to force yourself to do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do, but you don't want to do so in a way that's going to make you regret it. I have personally tried to do something, or I have done something, and then that was supposed to be a nice gesture, usually giving something away, and then going, oh, I really wanted that thing. I want that thing back. I can still think to something like 10 years ago. I think it was like a jacket. And someone said, oh, I really like it. And I was like being magnanimous and took it off and handed it to her. And as soon as I did, I was like, she's not going to wear it? And every time I see her, I want to say, like, do you still have my green jacket? So make sure you're ready. Master Shantideva says, start with vegetables, right? Give peas and carrots off your plate. That doesn't mean, so the story is you will become able to give up your eyes, to give up your organs, right? If someone needs one. That doesn't mean that when you're at the point of giving vegetables that it doesn't count. Like it counts from the second that you are able to be generous and take the loss up until enlightenment. So don't think less of yourself just because you're not, as far as you want to be. None of us is, right? Okay, so thank you, Debbie, for sending me an image. I did not make your book, but I will have your book for next time I see you. And so tell me your name in the back. Mulaney, nice to meet you. I'm Alicia. Welcome. So there's something called a book practice, which is checking in with your morality 6 times a day. And it's called Tundruk. It is an ancient practice, and Geshe Michael helped modernize it because he made it in such a way that you could actually check in every couple of hours instead of all day, which none of us is really going to do. And most people have serious, deep resentment, not resentment, but resistance to the practice. Why? First of all, it breaks your train of whatever thought, right? But that's a good thing. You don't want to get so focused on some mundane worldly task when really your mind should be on matters of emptiness, karma, your practice. So it's great to check in, stop this, this focus on things that don't really matter and go back to the thing that does. So That's one thing. When you start to feeling resentful about your book, realize that your book is actually a symbol of the life that you want. Okay? The other reason that people are a little resentful about the book practice is because it shows you in black and white that you're not there yet. And who wants to check in with that? That's like getting on the scale 5 times a day, right? But don't look at it that way. Sometimes I look back at old books. You're supposed to throw them away, but I never do. I look back and I'm like, wow, I've really come a long way. So instead of thinking of it as a marker of how far you have to go, maybe check in and see how far you have come. Yeah? So if you have any questions about the book practice, come talk to me at the break, if I give you a break. And if you'd like to send me an image so that I can make you a book, it would be my pleasure. Because it's somehow easier to do the book when there's an image on there that you relate to. I don't know, do you have your book on you? So a lot of people just use like a little moleskin or a little notebook, and that always ends up half empty when I try that. But if I have a picture of a flying angel or my dog, it's a little more motivating to open it up and do it. Okay, let's see. Who can tell me about the 4 bodies of a Buddha? Wait, Kim, the look on your face. It's like, what? Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Or she. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wherever he wants.
Yeah.
Because he's the Buddha. Then there's the Dharmakaya.
So if you're talking about the 2 bodies of a Buddha, there's the Dharmakaya, which is the wisdom body, and the Rupakaya, which you gave us already, the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya. Right, you did that already. So under the Dharmakaya are 2 more bodies. Want to help him out? Or in English. Mm-hmm. Or Svabhavakaya and Jnanakaya. Mm-hmm.
The omniscience body and the emptiness body.
Right. The omniscience body and the emptiness body. What is the emptiness body?
The emptiness of the other 3 bodies.
It's the emptiness of the other 3 bodies, right? So why would the 3 bodies of a Buddha have to be empty? Yeah, like why wouldn't, once you get to this point, why couldn't they just be self-existently, emanating and self-existently, happy, pleasuring? Why would they have to be empty? I don't get it.
For them to exist there.
Okay, right? Something that's not changing can't exist, right? So it was interesting to hear you talk about he, the Buddha, he this and he that and his body this. And that's what our minds do. We try to conceptualize something in the way that we know and in the language that we have, which is a difficult battle to wage, right? Because we're trying to conceive of something greater than us, has amazing abilities, infinite abilities, with the concepts of almost a child, right? Like we think, oh, the Buddha, he. And even if I think, oh, the Buddha, she, that's just another narrow category. So the way that you expand your mind and expand your ability to see the bodies of a Buddha is by doing what? You should know. Meditating on emptiness. Meditating on emptiness, that's the only way, right? So that's the other thing that we resist is meditating, right? Somehow, there's always something better to do that we have to do. And my Lama put this very well, that even when you're on retreat and there's literally nothing to do, people find a way to, they have to clean up that corner, or they have to refold their altar cover or something, last time I was on retreat, I didn't take any reading material because I knew that I would just read that over and over again. And in the cabin that I rented, I forgot to tell the guy to remove all of the reading material. And there was this old, tattered Reader's Digest, which is like, it's not even reading, right? It's and I was like, oh, I have to read that cover to cover, and then I can meditate. So your mind will always find an excuse not to meditate. Because it's checking in as a measure of, how much my mind is jumping around and how little I understand. But try to turn that into, I'm teaching myself focus and discipline. And you do get better at it bit by bit. So, the little 15 minutes is actually a big deal. Okay. Who can tell me about the 3 objects, the 3 poisons, and the 3 virtues? Lori can.
The 3 objects are
Things that are pretty. Things that are pretty. Yeah. She's like, pretty things? Debbie, can you help her out?
well, I find my answer. There are things that are pretty, things that aren't pretty, but things that you care about that are pretty, things that you don't care about, and then things that you
Mm-hmm.
do
Yeah.
care. And that's things that you like and dislike in neutral. Is that different?
So we have the 3. So things that are pretty that you like, and I'm not sure why he puts in the pretty. Maybe because everything we like we think of as pretty. Things that you don't like, that you want to get away from, and things that you're neutral about. Then the poison part. What's the poison part?
It was so much. Watching that class is so much information.
Oh yes, and it just gets better and better. So it's pig, rooster, snake, right? Rooster, pig, snake. No, it's the others that fall in the same group. 3 poisons.
Ignorance, ignorant liking, and ignorant dislike.
Great. Yes. That's right. So which one goes with the chicken or the rooster?
I would say liking.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I like that. Okay. Which one goes with the snake?
Ignorant dislike.
Ignorant disliking. And what's left? Ignorance. That's the pig, right? They're both coming out of the pig's mouth. And if you'd like to remember this for next time, go look at the Wheel of Life right outside, right on in the entrance. Yes? It's coming back to you now, bit by bit. Okay. Okay. So we skipped this. We skipped which step in our 7-step Lojong? 6. Very good. So the 6th step is 18 pledges to keep for developing the good heart. So I'm about to give you a list of 18 things. So if you were overwhelmed by the last class, Lori, that's what we are. We're a listing lineage. That's right. You have 2 weeks to memorize all of this. And I've actually cut out the things you don't need to memorize. So all of this is the marrow that you will take with you throughout your existence. You guys are twins.
So she always worried. She's like,
Sporty spice, dressy spice. Okay, so so the first line is actually 3 pledges, and then there's a regular list of 15, but that's how you get to the 18. So first one, keep to the 3 laws. We went over this last week, so I'm about to throw some stuff at you. Once you make the commitment to Lo-Jong your life, stick with it. Okay? What does that mean? Why does that have to be called out? Yeah, Peter.
I don't know what the answer to the second question about the first one I would say is that you have to just resign yourself to that from the moment you get up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. And anyone remember why it's called out? Like why does someone have to remind you, stick with this commitment? Hi.
To keep your vows.
Yes, but so what's the conflict between Lojong and keeping your vows? So what happens with Lojong, people get super excited about helping others and saving the world, and then they start to neglect themselves and neglect their other vows, right? And you have a vow, or even maybe you haven't taken a vow, but I'm going to give you this. You need to take care of yourself. You can't just start acting any which way because you're now crazy yogi Lojong, right? So an example is there's a guy at work who's been given this really super important task, not just a task, but a whole project. And he has 2 little kids at home. And for weeks now, he's been like having his wife do everything, like get the kids up, feed them, take them to school, pick them up, put them to bed. And, he realizes he's slacking off on his commitment to his family because this project is so interesting and, it's going to bring great rewards. So, yes, Lojong is a great, quick path, but that doesn't mean that you can neglect meditating and volunteering and, all the other things that you have committed to do. So that's law number 1. You know what? Raise your hand if you're the kind of person who takes care of others and neglects yourself. Nobody? Okay, come on now. I'd probably say most of you are like that. So here's a little homework assignment for those of you who take care of others first and neglect yourself. Remember this like old time saying, which is, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. So that means that if you're tired and cranky because you've taken on too much and you've overloaded yourself and you've overwhelmed yourself, really are you doing anyone a favor with your cranky bad mood? No. So even though it may seem like you're taking care of others by neglecting yourself, just think about, nobody wants to be around cranky pants. Now, raise your hand if you're the kind of person who takes care of yourself first and then thinks of others as an afterthought. Me. Really? Okay, so here's our homework. I talked about this before. When you walk into a room, instead of thinking like, oh, who's here that I can be popular with, look around to see what people need. Is somebody uncomfortable? Somebody need a pillow? Somebody needs some coffee? And then you be that person to take care of them. Okay, law number 2, never endanger yourself. I don't think I have to expand on that, right? You have one life, you have one body, and you got to take care of it. It's awesome to think that, you can stretch yourself to all kinds of physical, beyond physical boundaries to take care of others, but it's not going to help if you end up in the hospital, if you end up exhausted and hurt yourself and then can't recover. And this happens all the time. Like with caregivers, I volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association, and caregivers usually die before the person they're taking care of. Because, and my mom put this really, really well with I was always running around worried about my dad. And my dad started to lose his memory. And my mom says to me one day, if you keep running around like this, he's going to be sitting around eating a bowl of ice cream and you're going to be dead. And I was like, that's probably true, right? Because the person you're taking care of doesn't have a lot to worry about. So just make sure you don't endanger yourself. Take care of yourself. Law 3, don't discriminate between people. So that means that the one person that you're isolating from paradise, that you think is not going to deserve admittance, that's who you need to work on the most. That's the irritant that I hope you've been working on, right? When you get angry, what you're hoping for is that the person that you're angry with drop dead. Don't make any mistake. Don't think that, oh, it's just a passing thing, or they've just ticked me off. What you're wishing in your heart and mind is that they drop dead. Is that a bodhisattva? And is that who you want to be? Is that how you want to see yourself? So that's why we have to work really super hard on the seeds of anger. And I'll talk about a little bit later, but don't discriminate between people. Don't put people over here that you allow yourself to be angry at, which is usually people outside your inner circle, like the person you don't like as much at work, or the second cousin. Don't do that. And the one way that you can work on that is to understand that they're suffering just like everybody else. And that might be the reason that you see them as a jerk. Okay, that's 3. Okay, number 4. I think I went through this last week too. Change your mind and stay the same. I said that. Okay, Lori, what did I say that meant? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, how many of you have opened the door to a missionary? Like a Mormon or a... Yeah, okay. Sorry, you don't have a door? What do you mean by open the door? Like they knock on the door and... Yeah. Oh, no. You... Yes, right. So we've all had experience with missionaries at the door. Yes. Has any one of you been converted? Not one of you. Not one of you said, I'm going to Kingdom Hall on Sunday because someone knocked at my door. Right, okay. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Obviously, it happens sometimes, otherwise the practice would have been abandoned. But it typically doesn't work, and that's not how you want to spend your time, waving a flag of Buddhism, right? You want to be, like the Kadampas say, a candle in a clay pot, which is like, on the outside, you look normal, and on the inside, all kinds of fire is going and transformation is going. But on the outside, you just look like a normal pot, okay? People will notice your transformation, and they'll be naturally attracted to you because you'll be calmer and kinder and more attentive. But inviting someone to Mahasukha is great. Beating them over the head with why their life is falling apart and this is the only path for them, maybe not so great. Okay. Number 5, speak not of what was broken. So that pledge means don't judge other people's practice and motives, right? Don't talk about people's apparent faults. It's very easy in a Dharma community to point the finger about somebody's not doing what you think they should be doing. They're not celebrating holidays correctly. They're not keeping their book the way that you do. They're not keeping their commitments the way that you think they should. I mean, I'm certainly guilty of this. Like, so-and-so said he was going to do such and such, and he didn't do it. Don't worry about other people. You have enough to worry about on your own plate. This happens... How people carry this to an extreme, Geshe Michael said, is when he goes to lecture, people say, "Oh, I'm going to move to Phoenix. I'm going to be near you because my community is terrible. They don't get along and they don't do their homework, and I'm going to move to Phoenix." And he's like, "Yeah, well, they don't do their homework in Phoenix either." So, when you think, "Oh, I'm going to quit my job because the problem is my job and my boss, my jerk of a boss," somehow your karma will find the address of your new job. It will just follow you. And it's bizarre, but like at my previous job, I had very specific negative karma, which was to see my coworkers be laid off in droves. And so not only did I see people suffering around me who I loved, but I also suffered with extreme fear that I was going to be next. And in my new job, it's the exact same thing. It's totally bizarre. And what's also bizarre is that my coworkers they're not affected in the same way. I'm like, "Oh my God, so-and-so got laid off." They're like, "Who?" So, I'm working on that karma to see that change, to not see people around me suffer. But don't think that by picking up and moving across town that your karma is somehow going to dissolve. That's typically not going to happen. Okay, number 6. This goes with number 5. Never worry about what they're doing. So this is an extension of 5 in that 5 was don't talk about their faults. 6 is don't even talk about other people's practice. It's very tempting. It's very tempting to say, oh no, that holiday is supposed to be celebrated at night. You know, like some of us are very, you know, we're sticklers because we want to practice things exactly as we learned them. Don't worry about other people's practice. Be glad that people have a practice at all. You know, if somebody is doing yoga in a way that's unconventional and you don't understand it, just shut your mouth and let them do their yoga. There's a Bible quote about this. It's so important that it's in 2 books of the Bible, Matthew 7:5 and Luke 6:42. You've heard this. How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? Right? Oh, let me just fix that for you. Oh, you're doing that a little wrong. Let me just show you how to do it. And, you know, your own practice is like completely upside down. That's 6. Any questions? I know I'm ripping through these, but Brandon's like, no, I get it. I mean, they seem logical and self-evident, but we don't practice it that well. It's hard. It's just, you know, you get around a group of people or even one person and you fall into social habits. So, you know, read this and it'll help remind you that these are not things you want to be doing. Number 7. Yeah.
I usually do the opposite, where I see everybody else's practice and I'm like, oh, they're doing it right and I'm horrible and I'm doing it wrong. I beat myself to oblivion. I don't do that.
Why do you do that?
Is that an ego thing too? Like I'm just like, everybody around me does it right and I do it wrong.
Yeah, so we'll talk about self-esteem. It's coming up. I'll talk about that because it's a self-esteem issue, right? When you think, it's 2 things. It's 2 things. One is just low self-esteem, but an extension of that is it's a way to get attention. Like you're giving yourself attention by saying, oh, poor pitiful me, they're so much better, and you know, and you don't want to give yourself that kind of attention. You want to give yourself, you know, attention for like, oh, I'm doing well. Not I'm doing better, I'm so awesome, you know, that's like my downfall. And not, oh, I'm never going to be as good as them, you know. So that was a good question. 7. This is tough. This is super, super hard. Rid yourself of your biggest affliction first. Okay. You cannot identify your biggest mental affliction. I'm just telling you right now. Whatever you think it is, it's because you're blind to what it really is. You need to ask your best friend. I thought mine was anger. I was like, oh, I got this. It's anger. And my best friend goes, really? It's ill will. And I was like, ill will? She goes, yeah, you always gloat when people get what you think they deserve. And I was like, oh, well, that's just natural. That's just normal. She's like, no, I think it's one of the 10 misdeeds, right? And I was like, who needs you? So, so that one thing that you think is just normal and natural and that everyone does, no, it's actually your biggest mental affliction. So ask your best friend what they think it is, and really prepare yourself. It's gonna feel like a shot to the solar plexus because you're definitely gonna say, oh no, that's not me. I picked this one. So, so work on what they say is the thing. Number 8 is similar. Last week I told you don't expect thanks, right? This one is never hope for any reward, and it's a little different. Don't expect thanks means don't accept thanks externally. Never hope for any reward means don't go to the old folks' home expecting that that's going to get you a partner, right? I know Geshe Michael breaks it down that way. It is a brilliant teaching because it gets people to the nursing home, and then they forget about themselves and are just there to serve others. So stop thinking about what rewards await you for your many good deeds, and just do your good deeds. And then they become their own reward, right? I know it sounds completely far-fetched, but it's true. Like when we go down to Skid Row, you know, Lori has come, and Dimitri and Heather. You're there for 2-3 hours, and not once are you thinking, oh, this is getting me closer to enlightenment, right? You're like, let me just make one more peanut butter sandwich. Anyone got any more peanut butter, any more bread, any more water? So that's how you want your practice to be. Don't expect any reward. 9, stop eating poison food. That does not mean stop eating saltine crackers. It means when you finally do a good deed, don't mess it up with this attitude of self-cherishing, right? Like, I'm so awesome. I'm teaching class tonight. I'm so great. Don't do that. Just do the task and take joy in that, right? Because all the things you doing that you think are so great, you're doing 1,000 more that suck and you don't even recognize it. Okay. I want to go back to what number? 8. Never hope for any reward. So, when your karma flowers, because of the karmic gap, you're probably not going to know what past activity it's related to. We talked last week about cleaning up negative karma. Anyone remember what the process is called that we use to clean up negative karma? The 4 forces, right? Super, super important. So if something comes up in your life that is a drag, you can clean up that negative karma by going through the 4 forces, right? Destruction, foundation, antidote, and restraint. Or the 4 R's. It's just the idea of it to me is super comforting, because I know that I'm not going to remember to clean up everything, but at least it gives me a foothold, right? It makes me feel like I've got some control over cleaning up things that I've done in the past. Especially like saying things that I know are not in keeping with who I want to be, thinking things that are really not part of this practice, jealousy or the petty thoughts that I have are just pathetic. But the 4 forces help, and that's another way that you can help with their practice is better than mine. You have to remind yourself that as a bodhisattva, you're not really allowed to put yourself down. Like, that's not helpful to anyone. People are relying on you for you to help them learn how to save their lives. So if you're sitting there saying, oh, I'm not good enough, woe is me, that's not helping them, it's not thinking of them. So you can actually use the 4 forces to clean up negative thinking about yourself. Does that make sense? I would definitely advise it, be regretful that you're tearing yourself down, and recognize that your foundation, bodhicitta and refuge, they're there for you too, right? Not just for others around you, but for you too. Okay. 10, don't let the stream flow smooth. That means don't be a pushover for your mental afflictions. I cannot tell you the number of times I hear people say, oh, I can't help it. I'm just that way. Or he pushed my buttons. Really? It's interesting. Just own your own mental afflictions and fight as hard as you can. It looks like this. It looks like you're biting your tongue so hard to keep from saying something nasty that you can taste the blood. So rather than just give up and say, oh, well, that's just how I am. No, that's what emptiness is about. That's not just how you are. So bite your tongue, slap a smile on your face, fake it. Do whatever you have to fight that mental affliction. Even if you lose the battle, like even if you do eventually erupt, the 2 seconds that you held back turn into 10 seconds the next time. It's true, it really does. And then eventually you lose the karma for lashing out at people or lashing back at people. So fight the mental affliction. Even if you know while you're fighting that you're going to lose the battle, you can feel it, like your body is like, arr, fight it, hold back as hard as you can. Okay? That is not letting the stream flow smooth. 11, forget repaying criticism. This means listen to what someone has to say when they criticize you. Who cares if it's not said in the most gentle way? Sometimes people have been holding their own tongue about your behavior and finally it comes out in this like nasty way. But just ignore the tone and listen to the content. Does it have any value? Does it make any sense at all? Probably does. Probably does. If you've pushed someone to the point where they're scolding you or criticizing you, they've been observing some kind of nasty behavior for a while. It hurts. Oh man, it's, being attacked for your behavior, nothing feels worse, right? But it is you're not going to get a more direct opportunity to work on yourself than someone telling you to your face, I don't like when you do X. That's 11. 12. Any Scorpios in the room? Do you,
My whole family is Scorpio.
really?
And my daughter, my two daughters.
Oh, wow, okay.
My son's a Libra, but he's autistic. I said that.
Okay, well, let you tell me if this resonates with you at all, because the Scorpios I know, this really is about them. Give up laying ambushes. Does that sound like a Scorpio trait? Scorpios are known for like getting revenge when someone has wronged them, and I no.
I hang on to like years and decades. There are decades involved. It's like,
I knew a guy, I worked with a guy, he told me he was a Scorpio, and I was like, oh, so tell me about your best revenge story. He goes, oh yeah, one time, 19 years ago, I was working at Warner Brothers, and this guy drove by and splashed me, it was raining, and he drove by, and the gutter water got all over me. And I plotted and plotted and plotted, and last week, I was able to get him back. I was like, 19 years, you plotted like, I'm gonna go back to my old job one day when it's raining, somehow get this guy outside. So that's what this is. Give up plotting revenge. Give up laying ambushes. When someone hurts you, it's very easy to think about, oh, I'm gonna get them back. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You don't have to do that. Karma is definitely working. You don't have to worry about it. And karma typically does not work with you as the instrument, right? It's rare that karma is like, hey, they wronged you. Here's this opportunity for you to clean up their karma by getting them back. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Don't worry about them learning their lesson. Just worry about you getting your own lesson, which is stopping the cycle of nastiness with you. So they did something nasty, you're going to stop. You're not going to return that. 13. No going for the jugular.
Sorry, would you repeat
12 is give up laying ambushes. Don't plan a trap to hurt them back. 13, no going for the jugular. This is especially present in Dharma groups, which is where you bring somebody down a peg who you think has gotten too highfalutin. In debate, it happens in debate all the time, oh my gosh. In debate or in class, study group, whatever, don't be the one to like embarrass someone or show them up. Like, here's the thing, we're trying to be bodhisattvas. So what are you doing tearing somebody down? You know, someone who maybe spelled something wrong or mispronounced something, like, big deal. We're to be shoring people up and supporting them. Okay, so no going for the jugular. 14. 14 is load your own truck, no passing the buck. That's a direct translation. That means don't try to place the blame for your mistakes on other people. So I made not one, not two, but 3 gigantic mistakes at work today, or at least they bubbled up to the surface today. One was, so we're about to launch the service in 6 countries in Europe, and it's a flurry of activity. And I get an email at like 4 o'clock this morning from a studio that says, hey, aren't we supposed to deliver all these titles to you? And I was like, what? And I look at this list, and I go through my email, and sure enough, someone at the company had sent me an email 1 month ago saying, hey, we're adding these titles to your list. And I had put it in my pending folder. I don't know what I did. But so not only did I have to apologize to the studio, I had to go apologize to the artwork team and the marketing team. And I hate to be wrong and incompetent looking. And, you know, there was nothing I could say. There was no excuse, nobody I could blame. I just had to swallow it. And the really great thing about that is the next time that somebody makes a mistake, I imagine I'll be a lot more patient and loving because that's what I was really hoping for today when I had to go around to, 5 people and talk about my major mess up. So that's 14, load your own truck. Take the blame. It's called Halaksam Namdak. Oh, we don't have a board. Oh, scandal. Okay, sorry. I'll spell it for you. HLAK is the first word. Second word is SAM. And the third word is NAMDAK. Hlaksam Namdak. That means I take personal responsibility. And you hear this phrase in the Bodhisattva cheer of I'm going to take on every task I have to so that everybody can reach enlightenment. But in this instance, just take responsibility. Take personal responsibility for your mess ups. It hurts, but it builds character. Okay, we're almost done. Any questions? 15. Oh, this is my favorite one. Don't get fixed on speed. Not talking about meth or crack. It means when you try to get there before the good thing runs out. So, for example, they give breakfast. So they give really nice breakfast at work on Fridays. But if you get there at 9:30, it's gone. And I usually roll into work between 9:30 and 10. Somehow every Friday I'm at work at 9 o'clock. That's what this means. Don't get fixed on speed, right? Let other people have the good stuff, okay? There's plenty of good stuff for you to have. One way to enact this is by not having favorites. So if you don't care, if you love all donuts and you don't care what's left, then you'll eat the coconut banana one. But you know what I mean? Like, don't have favorites, just like everything, and then be happy with nothing. Like, if you get there and the box is empty, fine, go down to the coffee shop and buy something. So don't be fixed on speed. I think it's clear to everybody. Yeah, okay. 16, don't feed the wrong face. I love these. They're so... So, feed a cold, starve a fever. This is starve your tendency to take care of yourself first and feed your tendency to take care of others. This keeps coming up somehow. I wonder why. This also means don't turn Lojong into a means for feeding your mental afflictions, like pride or jealousy. It's very easy to say, I'm the Lojong expert. I know this, I know that, I'm so awesome. Like, that's just a mental affliction right there. So don't feed the wrong face. 16 goes with 17, which is don't turn the sweet angel into a devil. Lojong is the sweet angel, right? It is a very sweet practice. The way you turn it into a devil is by being motivated by jealousy or other mental afflictions. If you're saying, I want to be the Dharma queen, that's messing up the whole essence of Lojong. It's sweetness. Okay, 18, last one. Don't look for crap to make yourself happy. It's crap. Don't look for crap to make yourself happy. Don't derive pleasure from bad things that happen to people you don't like. This is my big one, right? You think that their bad fortune confirms your view of them, right? In your mind, you're saying, you had it coming, I know you suck, and that's why this is happening to you. That's so twisted and wrong. So twisted and wrong. It's wrong because you vowed to love all equally, or at least you're trying to love all equally. So don't feed this ill will. Number 2, you're watching someone suffer and enjoying it. What is that doing to your karma? It's just like doubly nasty, right? So don't look for crap to make yourself happy. Bueno, any questions on that list of 18 pledges? Okay, so we just finished the 7-step Lojong. Let's go to another one. This one is by Jetsun Drakpa Gyeltsen. Jetsun Drakpa Gyeltsen, Jetsun Drakpa, Drakpa, Gyeltsen, Gyeltsen. And his dates are 1147 to 1216. He wrote the commentary for this next Lojong, okay? There's a homework question that I'm going to have you skip, which is who actually wrote the Lojong. I'm not going to say it's not important. Obviously, it's important. But the commentary is what makes it speak to us. It's kind of like if you read Shakespeare without the modern notes on the side, it's like, what does this mean? So thankfully, we have a commentary, and commentaries are helpful every 100 years or so, because morality and language changes that much in 100 years that you need a new commentary. So hopefully one of you will write a commentary to, I don't know, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, or maybe to Lojong. I'm just planting the seeds there. Okay. So this is a really interesting lineage. It's our lineage. So from Jetsun, first of all, Jetsun Drakpa was an amazing, amazing scholar. And he's related to the Sakya Pandita, who we talked about, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. Sa means earth, and Kya means whitish, like clay colored. And we get the word Pandit from Pandita. A Pandit is like a knowledgeable scholar and expert on a certain topic. So he was a great logician, a great Sanskrit scholar. So he wound up in Beijing. He was the private tutor of Kublai Khan, and he also knew Marco Polo. Marco Polo is one of my favorite historical people, and Netflix is making a movie about him. He invented a Mongolian alphabet so that the Mongolian people could learn the Dharma. Okay, this is still Jetsun Gyaltsen. So the Mongolian Empire spread all throughout Europe back in the day. And then it started to shrink, but a lot of Mongolians got left in Europe for centuries. And around World War II, some Mongolians came to the United States. They came to New Jersey, and some of them became the teacher of Robert Thurman. Have you guys heard of Robert Thurman? Great Buddhist scholar, Uma Thurman's dad. Yeah, he was the Jetsun Kappa chair at Harvard, I think, some Ivy League school. And they ended up in Howell, New Jersey. Also Jeffrey Hopkins, another big-time Buddhist scholar. So some of these Mongolians taught those guys, started this monastery in Howell, New Jersey. And who else ended up in Howell, New Jersey? Before Ken Rinpoche, right? And then Geshe Michael, and then Lama Marut studied with Geshe Michael, and then my Lama, and then me, and now you. So that's your lineage all the way up to 1147. I've left a few people out, but. Okay, so here is this Lojong. It's called Freedom from Attachment to This Life. Freedom from Attachment to This Life. Already a very difficult concept, because what else do we have but this life? So it's really hardcore teaching to swallow, because you have to push away everything that society tells you is important and matters. It's four attachments that we're going to talk about getting rid of. The first one, you are no Dharma practitioner if you're attached to this life, period. So that does not mean that you don't like things, that you don't giggle. I mean, the Dalai Lama enjoys food, he laughs at everything, he's super happy. So it doesn't mean that you don't enjoy life, right? It means that you understand where your life is coming from, and that you recognize that basic arc that Peter doesn't like, of the thing that you're attached to starting off wonderful. Oh, he's so awesome, he's so great. Oh, he snores in his sleep, he leaves his socks on the floor, I hate his mother. And that's everything. That's every relationship, every object, you know. And if it doesn't go with you getting sick of him, it goes with him getting sick and dying, or her getting sick and dying. Those are your only choices. So if you don't recognize that, you're not even a Dharma practitioner. Geshe Michael said that was the most profound teaching of his Dharma career. Yeah. Look at our Tonkas, right? You can't really see his face, but if you look at any iconography in Buddhism, people aren't frowning, right? They're serene, they're blissful. So we look to them as serious practitioners, and they're happy. So this doesn't mean be unhappy. That's not at all what this means. Yeah.
Can this mean that you can say, enjoy everything about your life, but be willing to give it all up on a dime, even your life on a dime?
I'm so happy that you said that. Who here has seen the movie Heat? Wow, you guys don't watch movies, huh? She's like, what? It's yeah. Okay, so it's actually kind of old. It stars Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a gangster movie, but like modern day gangster. But he has a line in that movie, Robert De Niro does, that says, "Don't let yourself get attached to anything you're not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner." Now he's talking about cops. If you feel the cops coming, be willing to walk out on your entire life in 30 seconds. I give you that same message. But for us, what's the heat? Death. It's your Lama saying, "Hey, let's go." It's not that you're running from detachment. But did you say attachment? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you feel the heat, meaning your practice is heating up, then be willing to give up some things. And I'll give you some ideas of what to start thinking about giving up. If you work a 5-day-a-week, 40-hour-a-week or plus job, think about getting another job. Okay? So in your mind, if you have a job like that, you immediately said, I need the money, I need the benefits, I need the security, I need the title. So ask yourself if any of those things that you need, that you say you need, are going to help your practice. Or are they an obstacle to your practice? Because you cannot have a great meditation practice and be filled with work ideas from a 40-plus hour a week job. And I would say if you have a 40-hour a week job, you really have a 50, 60-hour a week job because you're commuting, you're thinking about it, you're checking email at work from work on the weekends and at night. And I know because that's the kind of job I used to have. And when I got this job that allows me to work 4 hours a day, I was like, I'm stealing, right? I'm cheating. No, that's the kind of job you want because your real job is saving people's lives eternally. So just start to play with the idea of, well, maybe I don't have to be an executive. Well, maybe I don't have to have a 6-bedroom house or whatever, right? Just start to let those ideas into your mind. I'm not saying you quit your job today, but just start thinking about it. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I also say that the thing about the donut analogy you gave about speed, in Russian? It seems to me that people are, as long as in our practice, as long as that we're not attached to getting a particular donut that we know is going to be served, no one's going to show up and eat the donut they don't like. If you don't like, I'm never going to show up and if the Brussels sprouts are the last thing on the table, I'm not eating Brussels sprouts.
Yes, so the point is, get used to eating Brussels sprouts and enjoying it. And Geshe Chekawa put it this way, when he got together with Lama Christie, her favorite kind of ice cream is pistachio ice cream, which is disgusting. But he made it his favorite type of ice cream. And then after faking it for, I don't know, not that long, he really started to enjoy it. And that's exactly what happens with Brussels sprouts or coconut donut or whatever. It's like, those things are empty. You have decided that you don't like Brussels sprouts based on something in your past. So you can, I know it sounds hard to believe, but you can actually change it. I can make you some Brussels sprouts that you would love.
We go shopping, we don't pick stuff off the shelves we don't like.
No, that's not what we're talking about. If you're in a situation where, sure, you absolutely cook what you, so absolutely cook what you like. But let's say that you come over to my house. I have 6 cupcakes. There are 8 people. And the last cupcake that's left is a pistachio and peanut butter cupcake. You take a bite and enjoy the fact that everyone got the cupcake that you like, and that is what's making this pistachio peanut butter one taste fine. You haven't even tried. I suggest you give it a try and let me know how it works out. And this isn't just food, right? It's standing on the bus when you would prefer to be sitting. People get attached to, oh, I'm going to be on my Kindle on the bus, so I have to have a seat. Then you lose the opportunity to be standing and helping this little kid keep his balance who's also standing. So there are plenty of ways of not keeping the speed. What was it saying? Don't get fixed on speed. That aren't just food related, but just everything in life. You don't have to take that one parking spot. Like my mom is so good about leaving the driveway open so that other people can park in the driveway. That is very nice. So those are the kinds of things. Like, allow yourself to be a little inconvenienced, and then after a while, it doesn't feel like an inconvenience. Okay. But know for sure, if you're in charge of buying the donuts, get all glazed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. What you choose to do daily with your life is an indication of what you're attached to. Okay? Good and bad. Try to have as many attachments to helping others as possible. That includes your eating habits, your exercise habits, what you do at 8:30 at night. I love teaching this class, right? And I don't like teaching this class because it takes so much time and it exposes all of my vulnerabilities, and there's a long list. But I do it. I'm kind of attached to doing it because I'm attached to you, and I'm attached to seeing you get happy and end your suffering. So try to have as many Monday night classes in your life as possible, right? Let's talk a little bit about things that people have in their lives that show the attachment to the wrong thing, okay? Okay, what the list that I'm about to give you? So I said, try to have things in your life, do things in your life, be attached to things in your life that help others. What you choose to do with your time is an indication of where your attachments are. So how do you decide what you're going to be attached to? Because it's a decision, right? It's not like you're buffeted around by the four winds and you end up in Dharma class. It's a decision to come. One thing that we rely on to decide what we do with our life is called instinct. It's also called bakchak, B-A-K-C-H-A-K. I told you I wasn't going to give you a lot of Sanskrit and Tibetan. The stuff that I'm giving you are phrases that you're going to hear over and over again, like klaksam namdak, bakchak. You're going to hear that over and over again. Bakchak means seeds, literally. And the loose translation is instinct. So the reason, this is a hilarious story that Geshe Michael told. Geshe Michael, a monk, was talking about how he was at work one day and his boss had been on vacation for 2 weeks and everybody had been happy. His boss is like a blow top. And his boss comes in and screams at Geshe Michael about something. And Geshe Michael said, oh, I'm really happy that I didn't pick up the diamond scale and smash his face in. And I was like, wow, that's coming from a monk. So I don't feel so bad when I think about, I don't think about smashing someone's face in, but I do think about like duct taping their mouth or, So what's the reason that we don't actually do that? Like, what's the reason we don't throw stuff at people and cuss people out and smash their face in with the diamond scale? Like, why don't we do that? I hope it's more than that. It's actually instinct from all of your past lives up to now, right? Like, you just instinctually know that you cannot kill someone because they've ticked you off. Some people don't know this, right? Sociopaths don't have this restraint. But we rely on instinct not to harm other people. It's inbred in us. It's actually, I mean, you may think that you were taught as a small child, oh, play nicely, oh, don't hit people. But even without that, like as a grown person, you would not be slamming people up against the wall who mistreat you. The problem with relying on that is the karma for that will run out. If you're relying on seeds from your past lives to do anything, good or bad, eventually karma runs out. So if your karma for not killing people or harming people or saying nasty things is going to run out, and that's what you've been relying on to keep your morality, good luck. So you cannot base the things that you do in your life on, oh, I'm just naturally nice, or oh, I'm just naturally generous. That's not going to work. Okay. You get around a couple of semi-ethical people, and it's a slow crawl to immorality. And I'll give you an example. We have free food and free snacks at work. And I was talking to this guy at work who said, oh yeah, I put a couple of iced teas in my bag, one for the road and then one for when I get home. And I was like, that's stealing. He goes, well, what are you talking about? Like, it's just there, it's free, it's like no big deal. And I was like, oh yeah, it really isn't a big deal. Like, there's no difference between him having 2 teas at work and 2 teas at home. What's the big deal? And then I started thinking about it, like, if I did that and he did that and she did that, pretty soon we would be driving up the cost of snacks prohibitively. And yeah, it's a kind of theft. It's a creep, right? I talked to another guy who, when I was driving to Arizona to see Geshe Michael, and he goes, oh yeah, just clean out the snack drawer and just, eat the snacks on your way to Arizona. Like get some gummy bears and get some granola bars and some this and some that. And I was like, it seems harmless, it seems innocent. And then that's how you creep along. And then you start to see yourself as kind of a little sneaky thief, semi-thief. And that's how that happens when you rely on your instinctual ethics. You have to always be working it. You have to always be practicing, not just rely on the past. Like one vow that I think doesn't affect me is the sexual immorality. I would never cheat on anyone. I would never harm someone else's relationship. And then you skip over that enough times, and then all of a sudden you find yourself flirting with a married dude. And then, it's harmless. It's not that big a deal. Da, da, da. And then it just all of a sudden turns into, tabloid news. So keep up your vows, keep up your morality. Don't rely on that you're a good person and you would never do such and such. Okay. Yeah.
You just mentioned previously, just a moment ago, that karma runs out.
Yeah.
This is an interesting concept to me because when we talk about things happening to us, karmic ripening,
Yeah.
it can ripen from any number of previous lives.
Mm-hmm.
So how can it run out when any moment karma can go way back and tap something and bring it, I'm making it like an animation. But
No, it's a very good point. Unfortunately, the karma that typically runs out is the good karma, right? We've done infinite bad things that will constantly be flowering unless we get the wisdom to clean it up. But the good karma, like the good deeds you've done in the past, you haven't done enough for those to carry you too far. So if your good deeds in refraining from hitting someone, hurting someone, saying something nasty in retaliation, if those seeds run out and that's what you're relying on to continue to be a good person, what's going to happen? And that's what we all do. We all think, oh, I'm just inherently nice. Oh, I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm just innately, I'm wonderful. I'm generous and calm. And then all of a sudden, a little slow creep happens and it's gone. So don't think you can rely on that. Yeah.
The guy at work.
The guy at work.
That was technically like kind of stealing.
Mm-hmm.
Never worry about what they are doing.
Yeah.
Like, when do you go beyond that and go, well, wait a second, that's not maybe appropriate for you to do that?
Oh, yeah, it's skillful means, Like, this is a guy that I helped get hired, and I would never want to shame him. And this is just, people are not living the Dharma. So it never would occur to him not to take something free at work. Like, why not? So you just have to kind of maybe plant a seed for him about how that affects others, how it might in the future affect him, like if they stop buying snacks at all. And it's a conversation that we've had like just casually over a couple of meals. Because the last thing you want to do is start lecturing someone and then they're like, oh, crazy Buddha lady. Yeah.
Because I saw someone take a cup of coffee at Whole Foods today,
Yeah.
and they didn't pay for it. You know, you're supposed to pay for it first, and then you go get the coffee. And I was like, you know, and I didn't say anything. And I should have.
Well, you never know, because the cashier might have said, oh man, sorry, I charged you for that woman's granola bar. Why don't you go get a cup of coffee on me?
No, he had just walked in.
You don't know what happened, where he was before that. You don't know. He could have been he could be the owner of Whole Foods.
True, I thought of that. I did think of that. I was like, maybe he's the manager or something.
Yeah.
Did you say you could clean up your farm?
Yes. Yes. And you know what? Grab Dimitri at the break because he gave us a nice little teaching on it last week. And he'll give you like I volunteer you for that, not once but twice. He'll give you the process. It's wonderful. It's called the 4 forces. Okay. The second thing that you use as a basis for what you do in your life that you should not is your feelings, right?
This is number 2.
This is number 2. You decide to keep your ethics when it feels good. And if you need something badly enough, those ethics go out the window. Or if you want something badly enough, they go out the window. I'm sure you can come up with some examples. I was going to give you one, but I think I've given you enough. So relying on your feelings to maintain your morality, not a good idea. Shifts like that. Okay. The third thing that we rely on is the customs of our country. This is a very interesting concept. Does anyone know what the 18th and 21st Amendments to the U.S. Constitution are about? Do you? No? No? Prohibition, right? So the 18th Amendment suspended the manufacturing and distribution of alcohol. And in the 21st Amendment, reinstated it. So if you rely on the laws of your country to dictate what's ethical for you, you're just going to be like this. In this country alone, there have been times when drinking, gambling, abortion, adultery have been legal or illegal. For sometimes, from state to state, these things change. When I was 18, my family and I went to Hawaii to celebrate my high school graduation, and the drinking age in Hawaii was 18. Thankfully, because when I got back in July, a federal law had been enacted to make the drinking age 21. So these things come and go depending on the culture and the climate, and we see it all the time, right? So you can't let the country or the government decide, oh, this is ethical. Yeah? No.
Just to let you know, that came about because of who was in office that year, and they bootstrapped it to federal highway funds.
Oh, interesting. Oh, who was in office?
Reagan.
Oh, God, that's right. How could I forget? Okay, I'm sorry.
But
To
underscore your point is that was something that was important to him.
right,
And so in order to get that enacted, he
added it as
added,
a
it was, if you wanted highway money, this is what your state will do.
totally not similar principle. Highway funds and drinking age. Okay. Okay. Number 4, I love this one. This is another thing that we rely on to determine what we're going to do with our lives and what we think of as moral or immoral. It's what our parents taught us. So does anyone know about this concept of not getting your feet swept? So this is something that's widely known in the Black community, that you do not want your feet swept. Like if someone's sweeping the floor, you get your feet out of the way so that the broom does not touch your feet. It makes no sense at all. However, and I've tried to fight it. If I'm at the beauty salon and someone's sweeping up the floor, just make sure my feet are out of the way, because that's what my mom taught me. Thank you. And her mom taught her, and my grandma's mom taught her, and so forth. And Mom, does it make any sense? But I've been in a salon and the whole room erupts like, oh my God, here comes the broom, everyone lift your feet. And everyone has it. Like, I'm sure you have something weird in your family. Oh, people that don't put their bag on the floor because money's going to run out of your bag. Like, feng shui is all based on, your parents' morality, right? What's one you told me? Your head has to be facing north or south or...
There's a money corner to the,
Sorry?
there's a money corner to the room.
There's a money corner. You don't want your door facing the street because money will run out the door. And, these are all things that people decide make sense. If things really are empty and based on karma, then it doesn't matter what way your head is. It doesn't matter whether your feet get swept. It doesn't matter whether your bag's on the floor. Do you have any weirdo? Oh, yes, you do. Everyone does. Throwing salt over your shoulder, knock on wood. I've seen people elbow folks out of the way to get to a piece of wood that they can knock on, and I'm like, don't walk under a ladder. All those things are your parents telling you. Don't open. Oh, I've been screamed at for that. Yeah, don't open an umbrella inside the house where it's most fun to do. Okay, so to live a moral life based on Buddhist ethics, you're going to have to go against what society tells you. Not just a different drummer, but an opposite drummer. Society is going to tell you that a meaningful goal is for you to die with a bunch of possessions. Of course, that's what they tell you. That's what every ad is about. I was reading an ad and salivating about the iPhone 6 because it's going to have a bigger screen than the iPhone 5, which doesn't even have a nick on it, right? It seems like it's brand new, my phone, and yet to me, it's pitiful. It's out of date, and I need the bigger one. That's what this society tells you, and as if it's fact, right? Like if you went up to an iPhone user and tried to explain to them that their phone was good enough and it'll last for another 10 years, they'd look at you like you're absolutely insane. So you will be confronted daily, hourly, every single second by going against what society considers moral and right. Okay. Freedom from attachment to this life means you have to think independently. The things that I listed, society, your parents, culture and politics, those are the things that are all around us and shape our lives in every way. So you're constantly having to jostle against it. I'm just warning you, like this armor that we talk about is real. So Tiffany, this is why you have to have high self-esteem. You're already doing something that feels different from what your habits are. It feels different from what your friends do and what your family does and what your boss does. You cannot do it with this attitude of, I'm nobody. I'm useless. I don't know what I'm talking about. You just can't. It won't work. So you have to constantly shore yourself up every day. And it's a middle way. You want to be humble enough to hear what people have to say. Your Lama, the person who's mad at you, random stranger on the street. And you want to be strong enough and confident enough that you can take criticism, that you can forge ahead with a practice that feels, different. So it's a balancing act. But there's absolutely no room for, my practice isn't good. My practice isn't as good as theirs. Okay. So I'm going to give you this and then let you have a break. The Sakya Pandita gives us 4 metaphors for these 4 attachments. One is, this life is like a bubble. If you're not attached to this life, you're not going to go to the lower realms. The lower realms are animal. Why would you think that the animal realm it counts as a lower realm?
Because they're out there constantly having to survive, they're starving, their attention around to stay alive.
That's it.
Food
That's all you can worry about when you're an animal is eating and not being eaten, right? So I was watching a lion fight with a crocodile, and I thought, how horrific for both of them, right? You know, if you're prey, you're constantly darting about scared that someone's going to snatch you up and kill you. If you're a predator, even if you have the ability to chase down your prey and eat it, as soon as one meal's over, you're like, I gotta do this again. Your entire life. It's not like you've got a refrigerator. You can kill a whole bunch of deer, stick it in there, and, you know. So it sucks to be an animal. Another lower realm is something you may not have heard of called hungry ghost. So hungry ghosts are creatures that, because of their greed and selfishness in past lives, have little tiny mouths and big huge stomachs, and they're never satisfied. It is very difficult for us to wrap our minds around this concept because we cannot see them. You get an idea of it when you see people who take 1,000 selfies and put it up on Facebook, or people who have $1 billion and are still wrecking other lives to get another million, you know. But hungry ghost realm is, you know, for those of us who practice, it's a sad realm that we don't want to get into. So it's a really good reason to curb your greed. The last lower realm is the hell realms, right? Another thing that people have a difficult time believing in. I did not believe in the hell realms for years as I was learning Buddhism. I was like, I just don't believe in hell. You know, it just doesn't make sense. Eternal fire. Then Geshe Michael said, have you ever asked yourself why every society depicts hell in just about the same way? And then I started to get my lack of faith shaken a little bit. And I started studying, you know, like Dante's Inferno looks a lot like Rodin's Gates of Hell. You know, it all kind of sounds the same, like endless suffering, torture, nasty. Which indicates to me that people have been there, have seen it, and have come back and written about it, painted about it. So then I started thinking, well, I mean, hell isn't a place, right? Well, hell's not a place any more than this is a place. Hell is a projection based on your past actions. And one of the things that makes it hell is that time slows down. So it feels like it's forever. A minute in hell feels like an hour. Something that we can relate to is an hour of a migraine does not feel like an hour at Waffle House, right? Or with your loved one, you know? An hour on Peter's boat feels like 1 minute. No matter how long we're out on the open water, it's too short. And no matter how short a migraine is, it's too long. That's karma, right? The way that we sense the passage of time as either too long or too short, that's karma. So that's part of hell, is that time feels like it's stretched out. So I'm just telling you this because we're going to talk a little bit about the lower realms, and it's in your reading. So this life is like a bubble. If you're not attached to it, you do not go to the lower realms. A great reason to practice non-attachment. The antidote to this attachment, is to meditate for an hour a day on your death. You're saying right now, ooh, that's terrible. I'd rather meditate on fill in the blank. Dima teaches or leads a great meditation module on Thursdays. I think, are you done with death, or he's done with death? One more week to get here and get the lung on meditating on your death. It's a meditation that you should do every day, seriously, because we don't think we're going to die. You talk to someone and they're like, oh, my life expectancy is 75. Well, in order for your life expectancy to be 75, someone has to die at 40. You don't know when you're going to die. Okay. Number 2, attachment to the 3 realms is like eating poison. The 3 realms in this instance are the desire realm, which is what we're in, the form realm, and the formless realm. You don't have to worry too much about those other two, but that's what he's referring to. So the three lower realms are animal, hungry ghost, excuse me, and hell. The three realms, just three realms, are desire realm, form, and formless. These will come up in your Dharma career over and over again. Okay, attachment to the three realms is like eating poison. It tastes good in the short run and hurts you in the long run. This is my love of glazed donuts, right? It feels so good in the short run, and in the long run, it's doing nothing good for you. The antidote is to think of the problems of the vicious circle. The result of this antidote is that your Dharma practice becomes a path. So you string together some ideas, some meditations, and then all of a sudden you have a practice, you're on a path, okay? Think about the poisons that you're eating in life. It's not necessarily that you have poor eating habits, right? It's that you are doing things that feel good in the short run that you know are not good for you in the long run. Staying up all night watching television. Not going to the doctor when you have a nagging, persistent whatever. Not forgiving someone who hurt you. Okay? A lot of ways to eat poison. Okay. Number 3. Attachment to what you want. This is an awesome one. Attachment to what you want is like killing your enemy's son. I love that they just talk about killing like it's nothing. It makes you glad in the short run, and in the end is certain to bring you harm. The antidote is the wish for enlightenment, and the result of this antidote is to remove from your practice the first great mistake of this path, which is just practicing it for yourself. I'll say all that again. So attachment to what you want is like killing your enemy's son. The figurative explanation for that is whenever you get mad at someone. Killing your enemy's son is getting mad at someone. It makes you glad in the short run, and in the end is certain to bring you harm. What type of harm happens when you express your anger?
You invite future destruction.
Absolutely. You are inviting the exact same behavior to be inflicted upon you in the future. Okay? Feels great in the short run to let somebody have it, and in the long run, you're just going to have that back 20 times nastier. Okay? The antidote is the wish for enlightenment, right? Bodhicitta. What's bodhicitta? Right. The wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. It's something that you need to recite and have in the forefront of your mind all the time. Okay? That's the actual antidote to this desire to hurt someone. The result of this antidote is that you remove the great mistake from your path, and that is that you're practicing just for yourself. A lot of us think, oh, I'm coming to class just because I'm coming to class. Not really. You're coming to class so that you can help others. Remember that, because it's week 5 and your adrenaline's gone. Okay, 4, last one. A person who still grasps to things as being self-existent is like believing that a mirage is rainwater. It seems like water in the short run, but you can't drink it. It keeps you from reaching enlightenment. The antidote is to avoid the second great mistake of this path, which is holding to the 2 extremes. What are the 2 extremes of this path, Brandon? Uh-huh. Very good. I knew you knew the answer because you got all perked up. So eternalism, right, is thinking that things exist as they seem, right? They're just fixed. Nihilism is that things don't exist at all. It's very easy to fall from one to the other. Most of us fall into eternalism, right? Things look the way that they are. We believe that. We believe that the way something looks is the way that it is. We slip over into things don't exist at all when we start thinking about emptiness, right? So that's the second great mistake of this path, is to get taken in by one of the extremes, falling off one of the cliffs. Okay. Break time. Any questions? No. Awesome.
Then where he told me he's gonna be beheaded, and then it went garble, garble, garble. This too shall pass. What was the gift?
Oh, it was a ring. And inscribed on the ring was a phrase that said, "And this too shall pass."
Oh, okay.
Oh. That's terrible. Brandon did that on purpose. He's like, if you're not in class, you don't get the punchline. Thank you. All right. We got 20 minutes to learn something kind of heavy. Okay. We're still in freedom from attachment to this life. The last one is a person who is still attached to this life is no Dharma practitioner. I think I said that, didn't I? Yes. Okay, wait. Uh-oh. How many have I given you?
4.
I've given you 4. Okay. Who knows where that came from? That's awesome. Okay. So I've given you 4. Your ethics, the things you choose to do with your life, have to be driven by wisdom and an understanding of karma and emptiness, right? They have to. I've given you a lot of instances where they don't work. You cannot rely on instinct or past hope, your innate good being. You cannot rely on what your parents taught you, what the government says is ethical. It'll just slip away, right? It'll just flip-flop and not make sense. My mom and I were just talking now about the feet sweeping and trying to figure out the origins of it. And it's amazing how our families can influence our thinking about what's right and what's wrong. So, 80% of Buddhist morality overlaps with what we already think of as morals and ethics. It's the other 20% where you really have to dig deep. So that other 20% is what causes people to get old and die. Attachment to this life, attachment to possessions, ignorance about how the world is really working and coming at you. Your morality has to be driven by the goal to not die. You don't want to die before you reach enlightenment. Let's put it that way. You want to reach enlightenment with this body. Tall order. So go after the things that you think will get you out of this realm. That means go after a strong practice. Get on the cushion. Give up as many possessions as you can. Give up your attachments to things that are unhealthy. It is not easy. I would honestly start off with a list. List the things that you're attached to and why you're attached to them and why you can't give them up. And seriously, it's the only way to confront it. And include that thing that you think doesn't belong on the list, okay? This is how you do it. If I told you that the enlightenment bus was waiting for you outside, what's the thing that would make you say to the driver, "Oh, just hold on a minute, I'll be right back"? That's the thing that you put at the top of your list, yeah. Especially them. They will especially give you an excuse to not have a practice. But here's the thing. When I said that this life will give you suffering, but it's for a greater good, I don't mean you don't want to be attached to your kids, you don't want to love your kids, you don't want to support your kids and raise your kids. Of course not. Attachment is not having a practice so that you can go to your kids' baseball practice. Attachment is not doing yoga so that you can whatever, comb your kids' hair. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to make some hard choices and reprioritize things so that you really can save your kids. Because what we think of is right now, and then right now becomes 60 years and then we die and then our kids go through the same thing and we've not helped anybody. So you have to make some super hard sacrifices now, or what feels like hard sacrifice, for a greater good down the road. Yeah, it's hard. It's especially hard when you talk about people. You know, my Lama asked me to do this exercise. What's the thing that will make you tell the enlightenment bus driver, hold on, I'll be right back, it's my mother, right? I can't go without my mother. And so I work every day at not being as attached, meaning I know that my great relationship with my mom comes from taking care of my mom and taking care of other people's moms, and you know, and believe me, I'd much rather be at home cracking jokes with my mom, eating ice cream, watching TV, than studying Dharma. And I study Dharma for my mom and for you and for other beings, right? So that's what I mean when I say, write down that thing that you're attached to the point where you let the enlightenment bus leave you behind, and work on it. Work on really seeing where it's coming from. Oh, it'll bring tears to your eyes. It'll make you want to fight. It'll make you say, oh, no, that can't be what she means. Yes, that thing. Your husband, your kids, your whatever. Okay, and you really do have to envision it that way, like, oh my God, the bus is leaving, and I'm not on it. I actually got that lesson from my Lama, who was walking with Geshe Michael. And you know, if you can spend time with Geshe Michael, you're going to get some wisdom, right? And he said, hey, or actually they were at the curb at the end of a retreat, and he said, hey, come take a walk with me. And she said, oh, wait just a second, because she had left her luggage at the curb unattended. And he goes, oh, that's okay, never mind. And she was like, my stupid luggage, like, whatever. So, yeah, just think about that. Okay, because it's gonna, your opportunities will come up out of the blue like that. Someone's going to say, hey, you know, why don't you come teach the meditation part of this retreat in China? Or you're going to say, oh, I can't because this normal thing, this unimportant thing, this, you know. So start to get your life ready for the enlightenment buzz. Okay. It's not an accident that you found Mahasukha. It feels like it. Oh, my friend invited me. Oh, my chiropractor invited me. My physical therapist invited me. Oh, my daughter invited me. Oh, I was driving by. I saw it online. It's not an accident. We all have amazing, what I call origin stories. We all have amazing stories about how we ended up at Mahasukha. And your practice is as individual as your journey here. It's not going to look like anyone else's. You don't have to tailor it to look like anyone else's. You have to tailor it to work for you. So what I'm asking you to prioritize in your life is learning, contemplation, and meditation. So learning is formal, right? You come to class, or you watch me online, or you know, you listen to podcasts. You are formally taking in information. And then comes the hard part, where you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense, or I don't like that, or do I want that? You know, that's the contemplation part. Where you're working it out throughout the day, when you're on the 405, or, you know, making toast, that's the contemplation part. And then the rough stuff is when you're behind, is on the cushion every day. And what you're doing is you're asking for your higher self, which does exist, to let you have some insights, so get some realizations. So a lot of people visualize the Lama on their head or in their heart, or the Dalai Lama, and that's just a way for you to move your own mental obstacles out of the way and let the realizations come, and they will come, I guarantee it. If you are sitting down with the desire to help others, you will get realizations on how to do so. Some of those realizations come in how to practice restraint for yourself, or how to be more aware of others, how to study better. You know, like, it used to take me hours to prepare for class. And I mean, it still takes hours, but not like, oh my gosh, a whole day, right? Because I've got the experience, I've asked for the wisdom, I'm, you know, like, that's what happens when you get on the cushion. All of a sudden, realizations, you know, they start just flying to you, especially when you go on retreat, which is why I harangue you all the time. If you can't right now think about taking a weekend retreat, try this. Lama Marut suggests take a day retreat. So if possible, make Sunday or Saturday or Monday, whatever, your no electronics day. right? No TV, no cell phone. It's just you and nature. So you go for a hike, or, you don't have to make it formal, but try to ease into this retreat idea. Then once you've done that, you can formalize it by meditating. You can get a meditation from a teacher, from me, from online. Take a Sabbath day where you're not working. And then you increase that to an entire weekend. Take a weekend a month where you are AWOL from your regular life. And then your regular life starts to become more your retreat life. Okay, so that's learning, contemplating, and meditating. So Jesus said, "It is harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle." Why? Chuck.
I would think that is because a rich man has spent so much of his time gaining his things.
Yeah.
It's difficult for him to
Exactly. We are attached to our possessions. There's a super sad passage in the Bible where this guy goes up to Jesus. Jesus has been going in and out of town, and he's gotten followers and disciples, and people are like turned on by his message. So this man goes up to him and says, "Hey man, I want to follow you. What do I need to do?" And Jesus says, "Oh, you need to come with me right now." He's like, "Oh, wait a minute. I'm a rich man, and I can't leave my possessions behind." And Jesus was like, "That's the choice you got to make, man. Your possessions or eternal life." And the guy's all sorts of dejected, but goes back to his money. And that's what that passage means about it's hard. It is super hard to be rich and spiritual because you're spending so much time chasing after attachments, getting attachments, and then worrying about them. My mom and I just sold one of our cars. And as I was going through the various files of car paperwork, I was like, "Oh no, this is the Camry. Oh no, this is the PT Cruiser. Oh no, this is the Acura." And I was like, we spent, over an hour, right? Just going through paperwork, trying to find the pink slip. You don't have to worry about that when you don't have 3 cars, right? You don't have to worry about, my sister works for this client who has 3 gardeners, and they are always fighting, and he's got to worry about them, and he's got 27 trash cans, and somebody stole one, and it's unbelievable. Oh yeah, you would be surprised what rich people go through, just managing their wealth. So keep your wants few. Keep your wants few. I already talked to you about your job, about your 40-hour-a-week job that I want you to quit. Last thing I want to talk to you about is renunciation. It has come up in this class a few times without me defining it. Renunciation means giving up on the idea that this life is going to work out. And putting it that way sounds very sad, except when you think about facts, right? This life, the way that we're living it, meaning we're born, we get old, we get sick, and we die. Is there some other possibility? There's a possibility that you don't get sick, but you die of something else before you get sick, right? Or before you get old. But the last note, dying, I don't think we've found any way out of that. So that's what it means when we say this life's not going to work out. You can do yoga all day long. You can eat whole grain bran muffins. You're still going to get old, sick, and die, if you're lucky. So the only way that this life works out is by meditating, doing good deeds, thinking about others first. There's kind of no other way around it. That's what renunciation is renouncing this life in the way that it shows up for us. Want to get out of suffering, want to get out of ignorant desire. So for homework for, does anybody have the homework? Do you have the homework in there, Laurie?
I think I do.
What is question 1 for homework 6?
Who wrote the original root text of Freedom from the Four Attachments?
Right.
Or the dates,
Yeah, okay, so skip question 1 in the homework and the quiz. And this is what you're going to replace it with. You actually get 2 homework questions that are going to replace question 1. The first is take 2 of the 18 pledges and apply them to your life right now and give me an example of it. So I gave you all 18 pledges for a Lo-Jong life, and you're going to take the top 2 for you and tell me how they apply to your life. Okay? That's question 1. Question 2 is even more awesome. Does anybody know what the Jataka tales are? What are they, Tiffany?
They're stories that I guess they're for children, but they're really not actually all that appropriate for children about the Buddha's life.
Exactly. So the Buddha's previous lives before being Shakyamuni Buddha are collected in a collection called the Jataka Tales or Jataka Mala. And just like Tiffany said, it's kind of like the Grimm's fairy tales are totally not for kids, but somebody worked with them and cleaned them up to make them for kids. Like in the original Grimm's fairy tale about Cinderella, you know how Prince Charming comes around to find whose foot fits into the slipper? Her sisters cut off their toes so that they can try and fit their feet into the slipper. But Walt Disney cut that part out. So this is the same thing with the Jataka tales, is they're designed to horrify you and scare you into living right. But they frequently are put together for children. So I'm going to send you all a link. You are going to pick a Jataka tale. You can pick whatever one you want. And you're going to tell me how the tale illustrates something that you've learned in this class, in this course. So, classes 1 through 6, you're going to take a Jataka tale and tell me, oh, this is like the Lojong principle of not becoming attached to this life or whatever. And I'm doing this because it's very easy to get stuck in the academia of a course. You listen to what I say, you do the homework, and then you go back to yelling at your spouse. When you're more engaged with it in this way, your brain is starting to think about ways that this class is actually part of your real life. It's not just on paper or on your computer, okay? So again, take 2 of the 18 pledges and apply them to your life right now and tell me what that looks like. Give me an example. Number 2, take 1 of the Jataka tales and tell me how it corresponds to something that we've covered in this course thus far. Yes? All right. I'm going to let you go a whole 2 minutes early. So you have now finished classes 1 through 6. You are off next week. I'm sorry, next Monday. And I hope you enjoy it. Because when I was taking these courses, we did not get Monday holidays off ever. Okay, bueno. Shall we do prayers? Yeah? Okay. So much. What's worth the multiplied Dharma?